home.
Earth or the universe.
What we call the universe in that time was the consciousness of every dimension creating us. So we were the sons and daughters of the breath of the universe. And after the breath, 9 tears were dropped in the universe that we call the 9 dimensions. And from the 6th dimension and then the 3rd dimension, 4 statements came to this planet for the first time. And the story said the first ones on arriving were the Nemnir, then the Sofkir, then the Alithir, and then the Aesir. And the Aesir had sons and daughters with humans, and that created us, the Sem, the people from Atlantis. The Atlantean people, what we used to call Hefut or Hefien, they were the sons of the first mixed between those people coming from the stars and those people from Earth. Humans and the Aesir that you may know, like Anunnaki, were the first ones to be engaged and to make a kind of civilization. So the first humans created as we know them today were sons and daughters of them in the Middle East. All the creation of Atlantis was around 16,000 BC, in between 4 to 5,000 years before Atlantis began as a civilization. The Aesir were testing to see if their DNA from the stars was able to be readapted in this planet. The giant Aesir were from outside this planet, and the only way you can accept the energy of this planet is by being born here. That's why the Aesir and Nemnir and other cultures that came from the stars, it was so difficult for them to survive here because everything changed really fast in this planet. Weather, geography, everything is adapting every day. Viruses, bacteria. So that's why they couldn't stand the transformation, the constant transformation of this planet, and that's why most of them had these meetings in which they said, if we don't transcend ourselves through our kids, then we will just be myths and we will die. So that's why the Aesir split in 2 groups, the ones willing to control humanity and the ones willing to live through humanity. There were many parts of this Aesir that had these childs, and they were treating them in different ways. There were some Aesir that treat them, the humans, like their own kids, like sons and daughters, so they were family for them, and they understood the importance of transcend their DNA, their culture, through the culture and the DNA of humans. So that's why they were protecting them and treating them like their family. But there were another ones that thought about humans like slaves to harvest energy and harvest mineral, as we need salt here to survive in our bodies, some minerals in our blood. They needed gold and some other minerals to survive in their planets. So because their planets were dying, they were trying to reach other places, and that's why the Confederation guided them here, because their DNA was able to match with the humans. So that's why they came here, but they used humans to dig, to find this gold for them to survive. So what they needed is to put this powder of gold in, breathe this powder of gold, put it in the skin, and that would make them all the minerals necessary to survive in this planet, to have more light from the sun. But there were other civilizations that were looking for us long before Aesir came here, and those were the Arcturians. Arcturian people were the ones working with those Aesir that treat them, the humans, like sons and daughters. So what they did was to propose to those Aesir to protect, like a father, the most important sons and daughters from their creations. And they promised them that if they would take care of them and they would transform their DNA into the blue ones instead of the Aesir, what would happen was that they would transcend into the light and they will be eternal forever. So that's why some Aesir and some Arthurians did like a treat in which they decided to choose some of these kids that they had created and take it very far away from where other Aesir could find them. These kids were prepared to be the sons and daughters of the stars. So that's why, in order to bring the information from other levels of consciousness, they needed to have in their blood these levels of consciousness. And the planet has 12 doors to 12 constellations, 12 doors and portals through the stars that open the information from every constellation. So that's why they choose 12 kids, girls and boys, to be the basin to put all this information in their water, in their blood. These 12 first kids were called the 12 families. As we call it in Chem, they were the Dasnai. Dasnai mean the great families, the big families. And those families were brought through the Indian Ocean and the Mediterranean Ocean to the Atlantic Ocean. So they could seed their new kids, their new information, very far away from the Aesir that treat them like slaves. So these 12 kids would be taught to be gods on earth. The father of civilization.
Is that related to King Arthur, I
Atlantis
wonder?
were Thalan. Thalan was what the Greek called Poseidon. Thalan was this Aesir with all these other Aesirs that before they had this idea of creating what after was Atlantis, they would spread the regions in the Middle East. Middle East, as I said, was the main portal of the planet at that time. So all the information and all the energy flowed better in that region, so they would be connected to the stars, even if they were living here on Earth. So the main region where all these beings were living was all the region of Anatolia, Iran, part of Africa, and part of Asia. It was a long period of time in which the Aesir were trying to decide what to do with this world and what was their purpose here. As I said, they knew that they were going to die eventually because they were not able to live in this planet. So they were trying in one way to take as many resources possible from this world, and the other ones to survive through the reproduction and through the living with the humans and transcending through history.